Welcome back to another episode of Casually Caffeinated with Katherine, Bryant, and myself. Today we're going to talk about counteroffers, and we're going to try a different format today where we actually get to the meat of what we're discussing, and then we save the fun stuff for the back end. So Katherine, how are you?
I am doing well. Thanks for asking, Brooke. How are you?
Great. I know in today's environment, believe it or not, we're seeing a lot of questions coming down the pipe on counteroffers, because despite what's happening with COVID, we are still seeing for certain positions some vying and jockeying for quality talent. And so I thought that I could get your expertise as a compensation expert on what your thoughts are with counteroffers.
Sure. So counteroffers are not new. They've been around, since the beginning of competition, basically, when other people are, vying for your talent. But that said, they might not be as frequent now, just given the shift in the job market, so to speak. But they're definitely still there. They're still happening. Hopefully, when one of your team members comes to you with a counteroffer, the reasons of why that offer is from that other employer is appealing. Hopefully, that's not a total surprise to you. If it is a surprise to you, that probably means that you aren't pulsing your employees enough to help understand what they're happy with, what they're not happy with. Do they feel like they're growing in their career? Do they feel like they're kind of at a standstill? Are you enabling growth, or are you being an obstacle to it, and so on? So I think that the first thing as an employer to do when you find out one of your top performing employees who maybe you thought was happy is really to dive into that counteroffer with them, assuming they're open to having that conversation, to understand what it is about that other offer that is appealing to them, to see if it's something that you could maybe accommodate, or even at the minimum meet, but hopefully maybe even exceed.
I was hoping that you were going to tell me that counteroffers are a good idea or a bad idea. However, it sounds like it's a little bit more nuanced. And so what are you really looking for when you dig in with that employee as to what they're looking for with that new position?
Sure. So it's so funny that you say that, because as with everything in HR, we love to say it depends, but it does depend. But I will say that the more framework that you have established from an HR perspective, from a compensation perspective, the more likely it will be easier, it'll be more timely, and it will definitely be more consistent if you have established, especially from a compensation perspective, framework in mind. And by that I mean, if you already have established salary ranges, bonus plans, things of that nature, it will be a lot, it'll be easier for you to say, okay, we know that if we meet this other salary that they're asking for, it will push this person way beyond the existing salary range. Or with benefits, if they are being offered benefits that you can't accommodate, the more understanding that you have around that, and the more understanding of the reason why those are in place, you're more likely to come to a conclusion in a timely manner, again, if it's something you can even consider or accommodate.
So do you find that it's a compensation issue a lot of times, or could there be other factors involved?
I definitely think there's a big variety. Compensation is certainly, up there, but there's also people who want the next step in their career, and maybe they feel like they're at a standstill currently. So I think it's really, really important that if you are meeting, or if you are presenting a counteroffer to that person, if that person's accepting that other job because it's a promotion or they feel like there's more growth, make sure that you aren't over promising that person with that counteroffer, and that you're really going to be able to see through on anything that you present to them, whether it's growth opportunities, whether it's stair-stepped increases over time. So I think is most important, but I don't think it's just compensation. I think it's career growth. I think that it's engagement opportunities, and even total career changes maybe, but compensation is just a one piece that plays into those offers and why people leave.
So if I have a high performer and I have a manager that says, as they often do, right, I can't live without this person, they're extremely valuable to this organization, just pay them whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from reality, can we do that? Just pay them whatever they want?
Well, I would advise to not take that approach, and here's why. So that could throw off a lot of different internal equity. And by internal equity, I mean you could have people in similar roles or maybe even the same role that are just as high performing, who have been there just as long or maybe even longer. And if you have someone that you're all of a sudden paying for the same role way above what everyone else is making, that could cause a red flag. It could cause internal issues, because as much as you think people aren't talking about compensation internally, they are. And then from just a recruiting perspective too, you often see, hot jobs, and there, people will bring new hires in that are well above what the existing, high performers might make. So it's important to gauge that, make sure you're understanding that compensation, you're reviewing it at least once a year to make sure that you are paying those people appropriately, and how you plan to pay people that you bring on, and promotions. So instead of causing that kind of compression issue, it's important to stay on top of that during promotions, during new hires, and even when you're not going through those things, just so you can gauge what you need to do in terms of dollar amounts for different roles.
So when we talk about compression, could you just give me just the basic definition of it, just so I know that I have it?
Yes. So that is when, again, so say you are hiring Sue, and Sue is in a very unique role, even though you already have people currently in that role, and she might make more than the existing people in your company, and you want to bring her in at that amount, and it's way, way, way more. It's way above the range. So you bring her in, but all the people that currently work for you are still down here, right? So they might not have had market adjustments, they might not have had increases, or they might have been salary freeze, whatever the case may be. Now you have someone that's in that role that's way up here, and the other people are, way, way down here, which there's a big delta. I'm not saying that everyone needs to, be paid exactly the same for their role, but they need to have the same expectations of why they're paid the way that they are, and that should be based off of their performance, their experience, whatever you have established in your overall philosophy.
Okay, I think I'm getting it, and I really, from what you're saying, again, it goes back to it depends as to counteroffer or not counteroffer, which I think sometimes, at least for this HR person, can be hard, because I will tell you, well, anecdotally, this is what I know. However, I think when we look at the organization or the unit, the team that individual is on, and you help that manager assist in understanding, can the team take a workload increase if that person leaves? If you do out market and out comp that individual and they can't leave because they're being compensated so much that they can't find another position like that, and then it is a culture problem or it is a growth problem, and they're stuck, and then they become unhappy,
right,
and that's
stuck.
a definite problem.
Absolutely.
And so I hate to say it, but I think we know as HR folks that it takes analysis on each individual basis to understand what's going on and how you should proceed.
100%. 100%.
Okay, great. Well, I think that's about it for today. How's that toddler? I haven't seen her.
She's great. She is toddling around. You know, she loves to be outside. She's very opinionated, but she's great. How's the pup? Pups are good.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know if they're good. They're literally driving me crazy. And I talk to them more than I would ever absolutely admit to. So there's that. But it's par for the course. But it's been great chatting with you. I really appreciate your time. Thanks, Katherine.
I know, you too. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, Brooke.